a non-governmental organization he founded to empower Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities in Tamil Nadu through entrepreneurship. The Native Angels Network, an investing arm of Native Lead Foundation, has been a first-of-its-kind initiative to India to support non-metro entrepreneurial growth. Since its inception in Madurai in 2012, the Native Lead model has become a benchmark for replication across various regions, currently operating in key Tamil Nadu cities and abroad like the United States and Japan. Mr. Shivraja's entrepreneurial journey began as early as 1991 and went on to co-found Winway System Private Limited, bringing ERP solutions and open source training to southern Tamil Nadu. Beyond his professional accolades, Mr. Shivraja draws strength from his family, his wife Padmini, assistant editor at the Times of India, and his two children Sindhuja and Dev Ramnathan, and his passion for socio-political history and structures further fuels his thought leadership. Please join me in welcoming a trailblazer in innovation and inclusive development, Thiru Shivaraja Ramanathan.
A few facts that I am going to share today. ஒரு சின்ன விஷயங்கள் ஒரு 4-5 விஷயங்கள் உங்கள்கிட்ட நான் ஷேர் பண்ண போறேன். And I assume that there are 1,000 members here approximately. I assume. And whatever I say will reach only to 2%. That is 20 numbers. Please keep this in mind. I am assuming there are 1,000 graduates here, and whatever I am going to share, 3 or 4 impactful facts will reach only to 2%. That is around 20 numbers. Let me come back to you this number concept at the end of my speech. And let me see who are those 20 people are. Okay. So I just want to share one important statement which I believe which is very, very strong, very, very fundamental and very, very powerful. It's nothing but change is the only constant factor. Maatram ondre maaradu. Change is the only constant factor. Just imagine, I'm not going to give you any lectures. Few very, very simple thoughts which I expect to trigger your thoughts, because we are going through a remarkable time space where none of our ancestors from the day one of humankind, மனிதகுலம் தோன்றிய முதல் நாளிலிருந்து இன்று வரை நாம் பார்த்திராத ஒரு காலகட்டத்தில் நாம் வாழ்ந்து கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். That means from the day one of humankind we are undergoing a time space where none of our ancestors have seen. Recently I have come across a report. I forgot the name of the university, but it's a US based university. They came out with from their humanities studies, they came out with a report about the changes. They say in history is not about learning the past. Unfortunately, we are not giving much importance to history, but I request each and every graduate to give little attention and interest towards history. So they say history is not about learning the past, but history is all about learning the changes. So learning the changes is very, very important, because we may undergo changes without our knowledge around us. So we need to know what changes happened in the past, what is happening in the present, and what may happen in the future. This is very, very important for each and every person, every graduate, in living in this space. So this report says, you take a scale, ஒரு தராசு, take a scale, okay? You may see the scale like, the two-side scale. Just for an imagination, sake. Since till 1950, till 1950, from the day one of mankind till 1950, you put all the changes, all the major changes happened. It may be scientific changes or whatever changes, socio-political changes, whatever changes. All the changes happened in one side of a scale. And after 1950 till maybe this year, 75 years, put all those changes on the other side. Just 75 years of changes. If you imagine that as a quantification method or model, the thousands of years of changes, compared to these 75 years changes, the 75-year changes from 1950 to this date will be more, at least 100 times more than whatever the changes we've seen in the past, several thousand or millions of years. But the beauty is, fortunately or unfortunately, we are all living in this space where the speed of change is happening in an unimaginable momentum. It is unimaginable, right? See, they classify changes or major changes as revolutions. They say three major revolutions happen in the history of mankind. One is the cognitive revolution, which is man started thinking. And number two is the agriculture revolution, where the hunter-gatherer group or mankind, they started doing agriculture in the banks of rivers. The third, which happened in 500, 600 years ago, which we call as industrial revolution. Listen to me, just for 3-4 minutes. Now, in 2025, we are living at the highest of industrial revolution. Maybe we call it as AI, ML, or space tech, or IoT, robotics, whatever the subdivisions. But we are living at the highest, development of industrial revolution. So this changes. So my message, or what the message I want to share to you is, we are, undergoing very powerful, very speedy changes at this point of time.